devices may now be switched off from airplane mode. This aircraft is equipped with Wi-Fi. Please see a flight attendant for more information.
Welcome back, pilots of the virtual skies. To part number 2, we have departed Stuttgart Airport. We've cleaned up the aircraft. Landing gear is up and turned off. Landing lights are off. Runway turn off lights. Taxi light turn off lights are off. Engine starts are back to their normal position. We've transitioned to standard pressure to 29.92 in North America, 1013 in Europe. We are climbing through 10,000 feet. Again, the transition altitude in Europe is 7,000 feet. In North America, we would not have made that switch until 18,000 feet. The autopilot is on. We have our heading hold. We are tracking the RID, or Reed Mannheim VOR. We are 46 miles from the Reed Mannheim VOR. It is
Lufthansa 43 climb and maintain flight level 180.
Climb and maintain flight level 180 Lufthansa 43.
Reed Mannheim is 112.2. You can see it's the active frequency now. Once we reach Reed Mannheim, we will either pick up the Bonn Cologne VOR, which is 112.5. We'll flip the switch over. Instead of having a flip-flop button, this airplane has a toggle button between frequencies, nav1 and nav2. We have our ILS frequency for our Dusseldorf aircraft is 111.5. It's already tuned over here. We're not going to need that for a little bit, but we'll either pick up on Cologne and track on that VOR, or if we don't catch that one right away, we will track outbound on the Reed Mannheim until we do pick it up. This is a fairly short flight. One technique that a lot of pilots like to use is to track on one VOR and then pick out a VOR off to the side, either to the right or to the left, and put that in the number 2 VOR. And you can see the little thin little arrows. In this case, both the thin and the fat arrows. Notice the DME distances match. VOR number 1 and VOR number 2 are on the same frequency. Looks like it. Let's see, 112.2 and 112.2. Yeah, they're on the same frequency. Let's do this. Let's put this one on the Cologne. Had a little scream from the passengers there. Must have hit a little pocket of turbulence. So the second, a little more turbulence. Woo. Good thing they have their seatbelts on. So now you can see the fat VOR2 arrow is horizontal, which means it's not tracking anything. And the DME distance is 0. So it's not tracking anything. But it does start to pick up. It'll pick up VOR2. So 35 miles to our Mannheim Reed, our first VOR. As I was saying, so some pilots like to have a VOR off to one side, and then as they're tracking on one VOR, the RMI needle will progress and move as they're in their relationship to the VOR that's off to one side or the other. Anyway, good technique, but our flight is so short today we're not going to use it. We're climbing at 700 feet per minute. We can actually do just a little bit better by, you can see that our engines are in the green zone, but they're not at the absolute top of the green zone. That can give them a little bit more throttle and work them high into the green zone. Get a little, not so much more airspeed. The airspeed is going to hold fairly stable, but what we're doing is we're trading airspeed for climb performance right now. You can see we've gone up to almost 1,000 feet per minute. We're cruise altitude is 28,000 feet, so I expect another step up once we get to about 17,000 feet or so. Let's take a look at our ship. One thing I'd like to see the designers do on this airplane is to give it some people. If you look inside the cabin windows,
43, you have traffic at 10 o'clock, 10 miles at flight level 170.
you look inside the cabin windows, there are no people in there. Look inside the flight deck, there's no crew. This is the ghost ship. Yeah, I'd like to see some people inserted in the aircraft in the near future. But otherwise, beautiful. Beautiful airplane.
Lufthansa 43, you have traffic at 9 o'clock, 10 miles at flight level 170. Lufthansa 43, climb and maintain flight level 240.
Climb and maintain flight level 240 Lufthansa 43.
As our DME distance ticks down to read Mannheim, we're going to be entering the zone of ambiguity, and the needle will become very, very sensitive to CDI, course deviation indicator. The CDI needle will become very sensitive. But we're not following, we're not on a nav hold, we're on a heading hold. So no matter how squirrely that needle becomes, we'll just keep maintaining the heading as we pass over the station. And you'll see the skinny RMI needle, radio magnetic indicator needle, it will flip 180 degrees once we've passed over the station. And if we haven't picked up on Cologne by then, we'll start tracking a radio outbound. We're going to turn about 30 degrees to the west, which will put us on a radio outbound, which is very close to our on Cologne inbound radio. one thing I didn't do after takeoff is get those flaps all the way up. How embarrassing. Now we can start making some speed. I don't know how I forgot that. Notice our airspeed was in the 188 range. Here's a list of the flap operating ranges. 5 degrees of flaps, 225, 1 and 2 at 230. So we were not really in danger of damaging the aircraft. We were just flying slow.
Lufthansa 43 resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
Here you can see we're approaching the station. Needle is very sensitive. Here you can see the RMI needle start to swing.
Lufthansa 43 climb and maintain flight level 280.
Climb and maintain flight level 280 Lufthansa 43.
Oh, you can see the fat needle just swinging around. We have just picked up Bonn Cologne.
Lufthansa 43 you are off course. Turn right heading 339er to return to course.
Heading 339er Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 you have traffic at 2 o'clock 10 miles at flight level 210.
$75 miles from Bonn Cologne. Now, I'm going to cheat just a little bit. I believe our ILS frequency for our runway 5, let's look, runway 5 right is our landing runway, unless the winds change and we get a change in that. But I believe that frequency is 111.5, but I didn't write it down anywhere. So I'm going to take a little artistic license, and I'm going to pull up modern technology in the form of a tablet. Airports, E Echo Delta Delta Lima is Dusseldorf. Elevation is 145 and 5 right is 11150 on a course of 51. Okay. Let's put our landing altitude as 145. Course is, okay, 051 here. And when we get closer, we'll put 051 in here, and then 111.5 here, and 111.5 over here. Okay, so when we arrive at Bonn Cologne and we no longer need that VOR, I'll switch both NAV1 and NAV2 to track the ILS. We are at our cruising altitude.
Lufthansa 43 expect the Avant 1 Bravo arrival with the Abaget transition for the ILS approach to runway 05 right at Düsseldorf after KBO cleared direct Abaget.
Expect the AVIG-1 Bravo arrival with the Abaget transition for the ILS approach to runway 05 right after KBO cleared direct Abaget Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 you are off course. Turn right heading 339er to return to
You may now
course.
remove your seatbelt.
Heading 339er Lufthansa 43.
She says we're off course. We're barely off course. We're so minutely off course. I'm not going to bother.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be serving you with cold drinks and a light snack.
Our turn onto the ILS is going to be a little bit beyond 90 degrees, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn the flight director switch to the VOR lock position. Right now we're in the heading hold position. We'll turn our autopilot switch to the VOR lock position, and the VOR lock, the nav lock lights will turn yellow at that time, which means they're searching for that lateral or left or right guidance. And when they turn green and we lock on, I will then
Lufthansa 43 descend to cross Abaget at flight level 09R5, then descend via the Avant 1 Bravo arrival with the Abaget transition to 3000 feet altimeter 3021 at Düsseldorf.
Will cross Abaget at flight level 09 or 5, then descend via the AVIG-1 Bravo arrival with the Abaget transition to 3000 feet altimeter 3021 Lufthansa 43.
Ladies and gentlemen, those double chimes indicate we're well into our descent. All electronic equipment needs to be turned off at this time and safely
So once
stowed
we've
away,
got the
unless
VOR lock, I'll
luggage
change
that
over
is
to auto approach, and auto approach on the flight director and on the autopilot. Then we will lock on to the glide slope, and we don't have auto land on this airplane, but that's as close to auto land as we're going to get. We're now in a 2,000 foot per minute descent. We've turned off the elevator portion of the autopilot. See, there's an aileron portion and there's an elevator portion. And we're on our way down to 3,000 feet. Miles from Bonn.
Lufthansa 43 resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43, this is Frankfurt Center on 127.6. Please repeat your request.
At 7,000 feet, we would transition to our local pressure setting. I don't know what that pressure setting is.
Lufthansa 43, contact Langen Radar Center on 118.75. Have a good morning.
Center on 118.75 Lufthansa 43.
Since it's not a terribly long flight, and since it was above 30 inches of mercury
Center
back,
Lufthansa 43 descending to 3,000 feet.
Lufthansa 43, good morning. Radar contact.
it'll probably be in the 30 point something range. Yeah, our passengers are getting some bumps today. Just 15 miles from Bonn now. I'm going to turn right about 20 degrees. I'm going to turn left about 20 degrees. Our interception to the localizer is at a waypoint called Abig, A-B-I-G, which is a radial off of Bonn Cologne. Miles from Bonn, you're going to see the CDI needle become very sensitive. And once we've passed the station, we'll make that 20-degree turn to the left.
slow to 250 knots or less.
Wilco Lufthansa 43.
Yeah, gotta remember that speed limit. 250 knots or less under 10,000 feet. What I'd like to do is to get below 230 knots, and then I can engage my first 2 notches of flaps. And then, of course, one helpful way of doing that is to use the landing gear. Not only does the landing gear support the
Lufthansa
airframe,
43 expedite speed reduction to 250 knots.
Wilco Lufthansa 43.
I'm going to put the landing gear out here under 270. Not only does the landing gear help support the airframe on landing, but it also is a great source of drag. That's a middle marker to another airport. Okay, we passed the station. Let's turn 20 degrees to the left.
Lufthansa 43 expedite speed reduction to 250 knots.
Wilco Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 expedite speed reduction to 250 knots.
Wilco Lufthansa 43.
Well, a little inattention by my part. We blew through 3,000 feet, so we want to get back up to 3,000 feet.
Lufthansa 43 you are off course. Turn right heading 337 to return to course.
Heading 337 Lufthansa 43.
Put in our first 2 notches of flaps under 230 knots. One 1150 is in nav 1 and nav 2. Now put our CDI course to 051 on both course windows. myself unintentionally climbing a little bit there, so I turned off the elevator portion of the autopilot. I want to get ourselves down to 3,000. I also want to pull out my landing reference card. You remember this from earlier. My VREF landing speed is 30 flaps and 130 on the airspeed. I'm going to move the flight director switch to the VOR lock position and the autopilot to the VOR lock position. And it looks like we've already locked onto the localizer. I didn't expect it to happen this far out. Because we are already locked on the localizer, I'm going to turn the flight director to the auto approach position and the autopilot to the auto approach position. And I don't expect to catch glide slope this far out, but we will get ourselves to 3,000 feet and we will see if we can catch that old glide slope.
Lufthansa 43 resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
I'm going to put the elevator portion of the autopilot back on. The altitude hold. Oh my goodness, I lost everything. I lost the only thing I have is the altitude hold. I lost the localizer.
Lufthansa 43 you are off course. Turn left heading 232 to return to course.
Heading 232 Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 contact Dusseldorf radar director on 128.65. Enjoy.
Radar director on 128.65 Lufthansa 43. Altimeter.
I'm going to go ahead and add in the next notch of flaps. Another. There's the outer marker. Auto brake to maximum. Christmas tree mode on. Continuous fire on the engines. Disappointed I never got lock. I never got a lock on the glide slope or the localizer. So I'm not sure what the issue was or is. We are high. We are just a little bit fast. Just a little bit high. Now we're on glide slope, according to the Vossi Poppy. Now we're on our speed, 130 knots. A little low and a little slow now. Middle marker. Düsseldorf Tower, Lufthansa 4 tree, clear the active. I've turned turn off the flight director and the autopilot. I've turned the APU on because I want to get electrical power on the aircraft. So I can shut the engines off and not lose electrical power. Parking brake on. Fasten seatbelt light off.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. You may now remove your seatbelts.
Engines are off. Let's get those doors open. Oh. Still locked, huh? I wonder why they're locked. Okay, why are the doors locked? Let's see if there's a jetway available. Don't know why the doors are locked. Trying to unlock the doors. We'd love it if the jetway moved. Well, folks, that'll be the end of the flight today, and I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for watching part 2. Goodbye.